Picture this. You're lying awake at 3 a.m., replaying every conversation, every text message, every moment with someone who's no longer in your life the same way. Your mind races with questions. What did I do wrong? Why don't they care anymore? How do I stop feeling this way? Sound familiar? Here's the uncomfortable truth most people won't tell you. You're not broken for feeling this way. You're human. But what if I told you that 2,000 years ago, a Roman emperor faced the exact same struggles and discovered a way to find peace without losing your capacity to love? Marcus Aurelius, one of history's greatest philosophers, didn't just write about emotional detachment from his ivory tower. He lived it. He lost friends, faced betrayal, and watched relationships crumble while leading an empire. Yet he found a way to care deeply while remaining emotionally free. Today, I'm going to share 5 transformative principles that will change how you approach every relationship in your life. This isn't about becoming cold or heartless. It's about reclaiming your emotional power. Principle 1, accept that nothing lasts forever. Let me start with a story that might sting a little. I once had a friendship that felt unbreakable. We talked every day, shared our deepest fears, planned our futures together. Then life happened. They moved away, got busy, found new friends. The daily calls became weekly, then monthly, then nothing. I spent months trying to resurrect something that had naturally run its course. I was holding on to water with my bare hands, wondering why it kept slipping away. Marcus Aurelius understood this universal truth. Loss is nothing else but change, and change is nature's delight. Every relationship you've ever had, from your childhood best friend to your first love, has taught you this lesson, whether you've accepted it or not. But here's what's beautiful about accepting impermanence. It doesn't diminish love, it intensifies it. When you know something won't last forever, you stop taking it for granted. You become present. You stop waiting for the perfect moment to say what you feel or do what matters. Think about the last time you watched a sunset. You didn't try to stop it from setting, did you? You appreciated its beauty precisely because you knew it was temporary. Relationships work the same way. The person who learns to accept impermanence doesn't love less. They love more freely. They're not constantly anxious about losing someone because they've already accepted that loss is part of the deal. And paradoxically, this acceptance often makes relationships stronger, not weaker. Principle 2, your thoughts create your reality. Here's where most people get it wrong. They think their emotions are caused by what other people do. Someone doesn't text back, you feel rejected. Someone cancels plans, you feel unimportant. Someone ends a relationship, you feel worthless. But Marcus Aurelius discovered something revolutionary. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Your emotions aren't caused by what happens to you. They're caused by what you think about what happens to you. Let me give you a real example. 2 people get ignored by someone they care about. Person A thinks, they must be upset with me. I always mess things up. Nobody really cares about me. Person B thinks, they're probably busy. Everyone has their own life happening. This says nothing about my worth. Same situation, completely different emotional outcomes. Why? Because our thoughts are the filter through which we experience reality. I learned this the hard way during a particularly painful breakup. I spent weeks torturing myself with thoughts like, I'll never find someone like them again, and I'm not good enough for anyone. These thoughts felt true, but they weren't facts. They were interpretations. When I finally started questioning these thoughts, everything changed. Instead of, I'll never find someone like them again, I asked myself, is that necessarily a bad thing? Maybe I'll find someone even better suited for me. Instead of, "I'm not good enough," I wondered, what if this just means we weren't right for each other? The Stoics weren't suggesting you suppress your emotions or pretend everything is fine. They were teaching you to examine the thoughts that create your emotions. Because once you realize you have a choice in how you interpret events, you take back your power. Principle 3. Prepare your mind for reality. This might sound dark at first, but stick with me. The Stoics practiced something called negative visualization, deliberately imagining losing the things and people they cared about most. Before you think this is morbid, consider this. What causes you more pain? Losing something you never thought you'd lose, or losing something you always knew was temporary? I have a friend who practices this beautifully. Every few months, she imagines what her life would look like if her husband wasn't in it. Not because she wants this to happen, but because she knows that nothing is guaranteed. As a result, she never takes him for granted. She doesn't waste time on petty arguments. She tells him she loves him every day. The goal isn't to become pessimistic. It's to become realistic. When you've mentally rehearsed loss, you're not blindsided by it. You're prepared. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "What we do now echoes in eternity." But he also knew that eternity doesn't mean forever in human terms. It means making the most of the time you have. I practiced this during a period when my best friend was considering a job offer in another country. Instead of ignoring the possibility or becoming anxious about it, I spent time imagining what our friendship would look like with distance. I pictured maintaining our connection through video calls, visiting each other and making new memories despite the miles. When they eventually took the job, I wasn't devastated. I was prepared. And our friendship not only survived, but grew stronger because I had already mentally adjusted to the new reality. Principle 4. Focus only on what you can control. Here's a question that will change your life. How much of your emotional energy do you spend trying to control things you can't control? Marcus Aurelius divided all of life into two categories: what's up to you and what's not up to you. What's up to you? Your actions, your responses, your character, your effort. What's not up to you? Everything else. Other people's feelings towards you, not up to you. Whether someone chooses to stay in your life, not up to you. How others treat you, not up to you. Your response to all of these things, completely up to you. I used to exhaust myself trying to make people like me. I'd analyze every interaction, wondering if I said the right thing, if I was funny enough, if I was good enough. I was essentially trying to control their opinion of me, which is impossible. The turning point came when I realized that the person who tries to control how others feel about them becomes a prisoner to everyone else's emotions. You can't live authentically when you're constantly performing for other people's approval. Instead, I started focusing on being the kind of person I respected. I worked on my character, my integrity, my kindness, not to manipulate others into liking me, but because these were things I could actually control. The beautiful irony is that when you stop trying to control how others feel about you, you become more attractive to the right people. Authenticity is magnetic. Desperation is repelling. Principle 5. Zoom out and see the bigger picture. When you're in the middle of emotional turmoil, it feels like the most important thing in the world. Your entire universe revolves around this one person, this one situation, this one moment of pain. Marcus Aurelius had a practice of zooming out. He would imagine himself from space, seeing Earth as a tiny blue dot in an infinite universe. He would think about all the people who had lived and died before him, all who would come after. This wasn't to minimize his problems, but to put them in perspective. Think about the most devastating heartbreak you experienced 5 years ago. How much does it affect you today? Probably not much. You've grown, changed, learned. You might even be grateful it happened because it led you to something better. This is the power of perspective. When you're able to see your current situation as one chapter in a much larger story, you stop giving it power over your entire narrative. I remember going through a friendship breakup that felt like the end of the world. This person had been my closest confidant for years. When they decided to end our friendship, I felt like I was losing part of myself. But as I practiced zooming out, I realized something important. I had survived every difficult day of my life so far. I had weathered other losses, other changes, other disappointments. This was just one more chapter in my story, not the final page. More importantly, I began to see that my identity wasn't tied to any single relationship. I was a complete person before this friendship, and I would be a complete person after it. The friendship had enriched my life, but it didn't define my life. Here's what I want you to understand. Emotional detachment isn't about loving less. It's about loving more wisely. It's about caring deeply while holding lightly. It's about being fully present without being clingy. When you practice these principles, something magical happens. You become more attractive to others because you're not needy. You become more peaceful because you're not constantly worried about things you can't control. You become more resilient because you're prepared for life's inevitable changes. Most importantly, you become free. Free from the anxiety of trying to control others. Free from the pain of unmet expectations. Free from the prison of other people's approval. This doesn't mean you become indifferent or cold. It means you love from a place of strength rather than weakness. You give from abundance rather than neediness. You connect from wholeness rather than brokenness. The Stoics understood that the goal of life isn't to avoid pain, it's to avoid unnecessary suffering. And most of our suffering comes from our attachment to things being different than they are. When you learn to accept what is, focus on what you can control, and maintain perspective on what really matters, you discover something profound. You don't need anyone else to complete you. You're already whole. Other people can enhance your life, but they can't make or break it. This is the ultimate freedom. The freedom to love without fear, to care without clinging, to connect without losing yourself. So I challenge you, pick one relationship in your life where you've been holding on too tightly. Practice one of these principles this week. Notice how it feels to love from a place of strength rather than need. Your future self will thank you for learning these lessons now, because the person who masters emotional detachment doesn't lose their capacity to love. They multiply it. What will you choose? Will you continue to let your emotions be controlled by others, actions? Or will you take back your power and learn to love with the wisdom of the Stoics? The choice is yours, and it starts right now.